Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Returned. You're not alone on this path, and you were meant to be here. Hi, and welcome to The Returned. Today, I am so honored to have Jen Snow in our studio for a sit-down. I know Jen Snow personally, so you guys are in for a treat. She is a clinical hypnotherapist, intuitive energy healer, medium, certified Reiki Master, an animal communicator and body worker, and an NDE survivor. Jen's journey has been guided by spirit and extraordinary life experiences, leading her to help people and animals find balance, harmony, and healing in ways that honor the mind, body, and spirit. She blends deep intuition with powerful techniques to create truly transformative experiences. Jen, like I said before, I am so excited to see you and have you here.
Likewise. Thank you for having me here.
You're very welcome. And it's been some time since I've seen you and we've been chatting, but I am so happy that you came on because you are extraordinary and more than anybody knows and more than I even knew. Like, wow, what you have going on in your life. I'm so excited. So Jen, before we get started, let's find out who you were because Jen, last time I seen you, you could not see. So if we could go back, you were blind. So if we could go back and talk about that, and I'd also love to talk about your NDE as well.
Perfect. So, it's funny when I was thinking about I'm like, I was blind when we first got to met and did our stuff. And it's an interesting story. So, in 2000, I kind of have to start in 2010 because in 2010, I had a major health crisis, which ended up being my soul kind of putting a wall in front of my face because I was very much in a place in my life where I really wanted to deny what I was meant to do and my purpose. I actually wanted nothing to do with being intuitive on any aspect, whether it was talking and communicating with animals or working with people. I was actually pretty set on being in the business world, in that corporate space. And in 2010, I got really sick. And I was diagnosed as a diabetic, and they put me on medication. And I actually had a really adverse response to that medication and ended up losing my sight within 48 hours. And I was actually driving to a barn that I worked at and managed in the morning. And as I was driving there, I noticed my eyesight was getting blurry. And you think it's 5 a.m. I haven't had coffee yet. I must be really tired. You get there, you get going. And within an hour, I couldn't see. And as it turns out, some complications with my diabetes in my eyes and my kidneys and neuropathy, kind of this whirlwind happened. And at that time, I didn't see the message in the lesson. All I was seeing was the fact that my life had basically blown up and I didn't know what to do. So fast forward to 2016, I ended up finding this hypnotherapy course. Now, the day that my soul spoke to me was like, hypnosis. I'm not going to lie. I thought hypnosis was people clucking on like chickens and humping chairs on a stage. I did not know anything about the modality of therapy associated, like the real like meat of it. So I was meditating one day and this word hypnosis came up, and me being the stubborn person that I am, because I don't take direction very well. I'm very good at giving direction and bossing people around, but I'm not great at being bossed around, especially by the universe, because they always have a plan that maybe doesn't line up with how I think life should go. And so I'd like to be the guy to prove them wrong and do it my way. which will lead into my near-death experience. It all comes full circle. And so it does. It totally does. 2010 happened because 2001, I didn't get the memo, or I chose to like decide that I didn't like the memo. And I was like, well, no. And so I ended up going to like signing up for this course that was a full-time course. It was an intensive course. And my email to the school was, can blind people take this course? That's it. Yep. That was my email. I got a response. I think we should meet. So the owner of the school, who ended up living 10 minutes from my house, came over. We had like a 2.5 hour conversation, nothing about school, nothing about hypnotherapy, all about my mediumship and my abilities and, you know, spirit and this. And we sat there and we just gabbed. And she's like, oh, I should go home now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then I realized, I'm like, well, am I in? And she was like, yeah, you're totally in. I'll see you in September, which is great. You think that's awesome. I did not know what the course was about, though, because I didn't actually read the information when I sent that email. I just finally gave up because for 6 hours before I sent that email, the universe turned off the power in my basement suite that I was living in because I went back to my family farm when I lost my sight. And until I sent the email, the power wouldn't come on, and upstairs had power, downstairs did not. So for 6 hours, I fought with the universe, telling them I would get to it one day. But I guess the universe knows me better than I think. And one day was now. And so September rolled along and I realized that I was walking into this course, not sure how I was going to learn the information, because yes, I had been blind for 6 years, but when you go from being sighted to losing your sight, the learning curve of how to integrate into the world and function is a little different than it being something that just naturally always was. And nobody can really educate you on how to educate yourself. And I love to read. I love to learn. And part of my life was really missing until Apple came out and they had, you know, voiceover so you could read stuff to me. And I just found that by chance just before school. So I thought, oh, get an iPad. I could read the course. Great. This is great. I got this, right? No. It kind of, yeah. So it was a lot. And I was going into this course thinking, am I going to make people hump chairs and cluck like chickens? Because all of a sudden I start panicking. And I walk in and I look and I talk to the owner of the school, the head instructor, and I'm like, hey man, if I'm going to make people cluck like chickens and hump chairs, you can keep all the money I gave you. I just can't. And I intuitively felt deep to my core her point and tell me to sit down. I was like, yes, ma'am. And you just did not mess with Leslie. Like, I didn't have to see to feel her stare, but that energy went everywhere. And so we begin this course, and I am the only visually impaired blind person in this course, and everybody else, like, the textbook's like this big. I'm like, I got this. You know that click and little activation of memorize everything as fast as you can? I went from being photogenic to being auditory photogenic. So I could start memorizing what everybody said, because there's a lot of steps here and a lot of like moving parts. And then you're doing a lot of the work in the class as well. A lot of the practicum, well, you're in and out of that chair. So you're just zombified. And day 2, I actually found out that I was in kidney failure. My kidney specialist called me after school, outside of office hours, and said, you need to get your blood work done right now. Your GFR has dropped to 18. You're in trouble. You're going to need a transplant. I'm like, yeah, I don't have time for this. I'm taking a course. That's my head. I don't have time. He was like, excuse me? I'm like, no, seriously, I'm in this intensive course. I'm taking 2.5 years of school in like 30 days. I don't got time for this. I'll put this on hold. So we did come to an agreement that I would redo the blood work and that he would, like, you know, depending on what it said, we'd touch base after I was done school.
God.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, I know that my guides and my team up there, like, why they agreed to work with me, I don't know. I think they're all subject to pain and suffering on the other side. So I walked into class thinking, well, do you think it could tap? Who knows, right? I didn't even know still didn't know what the course was really about, the full body of it. I'm like, hey, do you think we can heal my kidneys? Because I need a transplant apparently, and I just don't want one. That poor woman, Leslie, looked at me. She's like, well, it's never been done before. I'm like, great, we're going to figure out how to do it. So my mission became my kidneys during this course. So not only was I learning something, but I was like, how do I fix this? Like, and my heart goes to everybody who's had a transplant. There's nothing against that. I just, in my heart, was like, no, this isn't happening. And maybe it was denial and youth coming together to give me that like brainwash of I'm going to climb this mountain as fast as I possibly can and conquer everything on the way up, or just pure stupidity. I don't really know. But the mountain, I could see it. I could feel it. The one thing I learned very quickly is I couldn't put a date on it. I couldn't expect when it was going to happen. I just knew in my heart that I was going to learn something to help myself. And so I began through the therapeutic tools to kind of peel away this kidney dysfunction and kidney failure. And within 2 months, my kidney function began to improve, like from 18 to like 27, which is a huge leap in your GFR. It usually goes up 5 or 4 points if you're lucky. But I, began to leapfrog, and every couple months there'd be this improvement because I just kept using all the techniques and my listening to my body, my intuitive self, listening to my soul of what's next, and began to unfold all of that. And so here we are today. In 2018, I regained my sight on the couple days before Father's Day. And when it got it back, I actually sat there for 4 hours. I was like, no, I can see the faces on the TV. Like,
that's really.
So yeah, this is,
oh my goodness.
It kind of showed me that life is filled with a lot of U-turns and a lot of different directions, but we can always, for the most part, redirect if we have the mindset and the will to go, it could be possible. And so during this journey of regaining, improving my kidneys and regaining my sight, because my eyesight was actually an afterthought. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't really focused on it. And somebody's like, hey, you think you could try that? I'm like, oh, good idea. Never thought about it. I know, right? Sometimes you just... Living blind was not a horrible thing. It was actually quite beautiful. I got to see the world in many different ways. And what I discovered is my kidney failure, dysfunction, and my eyesight was all because I wasn't living my truth. I was denying my truth. And that was like the key, that my life before my catastrophic 2010 health crisis was, I didn't want to be me. I didn't want anything to do with the intuitive side of things. For me, all I wanted to do was be normal. And it was very scary coming out. Now, through this process, I learned there's a lot of soul history there that would create those belief systems, and you can begin to activate that cell memory of those experiences. And I was living there because when I was younger, I would wake up with people around my bed, like not just one, not two, like 100 souls. And me and my family, I'm very different than my family. So I'd be screaming bloody murder at 2.5 that there's a bunch of people in my room, and my parents would be like, there's nobody here. I'm like, you're standing on an old lady, her face is missing, and blah. And then it became Jen had a great imagination. And I could communicate with animals. Like, yeah. I still have an aunt that tells me that. I'm like, no. I see reality in ways that you just can't. Just drop it. I hate it. That was a hard belief system to crack. Go away.
Right.
Kind of thing. Or talking to animals like you and I are talking. For me, that was my everyday. It wasn't something that I knew that you couldn't do. I actually thought everybody could do it, but I also didn't understand why nobody would listen to me when I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And they're like, no, that can't be it. Turns out it was always it. So I began to shut down my abilities. And then the straw for me was when my granny passed, the moment she passed, she showed up in our home. and it was December 23rd, and we were going out for Christmas, and I was 9 years old. And I remember looking up the stairs and seeing her like in full, and her telling me she's okay. Like, everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. She was, please tell my dad that she's okay. And the little me was like, knew she had passed, but it was going to ruin Christmas. So I was like, everybody out, let's go, let's go, let's go. And because I knew the phone was going to ring. And when the phone rang, I was like, don't answer it. And it was the hospital calling my dad. You know, the things we do as kids, right? It was not, I didn't mean it in a bad way, but I knew what the process was going to be. And I knew how it was going to affect people. And I just didn't want it to, you know, because you're excited about Christmas. Let's be honest. I mean, you're like, presents. Here we go. And so
basically, I just want to interject there for a second. Basically, you were born with these gifts.
Absolutely. I came in this world with all of them. There isn't any, there's not much I can't do.
Yeah.
So when I was in the womb, there was a halo over my head, and they ended up, you know, scheduling the C-section early because they didn't know what the halo was.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. My mom was like, you put me in a coma, you had a halo, and you came really early. And at that time, because I'm going to date myself, premature babies it wasn't great back then. And so I came into this world like this. I worked really hard in my younger years not to be this, and now it's like, here we go. Now I just love every part of it. So yeah, that's who I was before.
You were a lot before, weren't you? You were a handful.
I've been a handful more than once. More than once.
What would you like to move on with? Would you like to move on with the NDE?
Sure, let's talk about it. That let me preface to everybody, I probably am not going to respect it like everybody does, in the sense that when I had my near-death experience, I was a little mad about having to come back. So when I got salmonella poisoning when I was 20. And of course, me being me, I thought I just had the flu, right? So you're just going to suffer through it, you know? And that wasn't the case. So I spent a month in ICU. When my brother took me to the hospital, my mom was there. She had come, and I remember just being in so much pain. I couldn't keep water down. Like, was at this point where I knew I was leaving. And I can't say I was disappointed, because at that time in my life, I was angry at humanity. I was angry at this world. I really missed home. This wasn't home for me. This isn't, like, you know, I would look at the stars every day and be like, just come on, let's go. Like, I just can't be here anymore. I don't understand why we create to destroy ourselves. Like, I was very upset with where the collective consciousness was at. And so I remember vaguely being in the ER, and I left my body. I flatlined, and I remember getting to the other side, and there's like 8 beautiful, massive beams of light. And I'm there, and I'm like in this warm, cozy place. I'm like, oh, thank God. I'm coming home. Let's go get the rodeo on. Like, there was no tunnel of light. I was just there. And they're like, we're going to have a little conversation. I'm like, no conversation. Carry on. Next steps. Why are you in? And they're all in my way. So unclear. They're like made a wall. And I'm like, no, I got to. And I'm looking at them. I'm like, what do you want? And they're like, well, don't well me. And they're like, well, you could come home. You have that choice. Let's go. Hurry up. Part the seas. And and this is word for word, by the way. This is like, I mean, if they had moved an inch, I was like, through. And they're like, but you know, you came to this life to do some really, like, some stuff, and you still got more to do, and you wouldn't want to not do it. And I'm like, really? You're going to pull that card right now? Where? And I'm like, and what, what felt like on the other side, like probably like an hour of me sitting there with my hands on my head, stirring them to tantrum tantrum, that they pulled that card because, you don't want to not do the stuff you said you're going to do, because that just, my word, is my word. Fine. And I said some choice words to them. I swore at them. I threw a hissy fit. I was like, yeah. And the next thing I know, I'm like, fine, I'll go back. And I yelled it at them. And then I just woke up to my mom slapping me in the face, telling me not to go. And I'm like, I was already got, like, yeah. And I came back angry. I was like, oh my God. And it took me a while to get over that. I'm not going to lie. Because I spent a month in the ICU where it was touch and go, and I was like, I could have just left, but they were very clear that I had some things to do, and I hadn't quite got there yet. So here we are.
What did the beings look like?
They were these beautiful, iridescent white, with this beautiful hue of like indigo and like shades of like different colors. I never saw faces. They just were in the shape. I mean, they were massive. When I say I was looking up, I was really looking up at them, and I could just see their outlines, and there was just this white light. And I did ask a long time ago, like, why didn't you just show up as yourselves? And the reason they showed up that way for me was because if they had showed up in a way that I had recognized them at a soul level, I wouldn't have come back. I would have been like, nope, I'm coming home. The party's on the other side. I'm done with this dream, this hologram. I'm finished. And so they actually kept themselves very, very neutral. So I was, so I didn't have any other reason to be like, see, I told you. Yeah, we're family. You can't boss me around. Like, you can't boss me around.
Oh my goodness, girl.
And they played me great. Like, they played me perfectly, because if they had said anything any different, I would have been like, no, you're not the boss of me. I'll do it my way. And so, yeah, they were. And there was 8 of them.
Did you? Yeah.
4 of them. 4 of them are high level souls, and I've seen them in meditations when I've left my body and gone to different dimensions, and they finally revealed themselves to me, and I'm like, well, where were you on that day? And they're like, oh, we were there, we just weren't showing you so you couldn't sit here and bitch at us, basically. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Well, I'm here now, so listen up, people. Yeah.
How did you handle that after you got out of ICU? Did you bring back anything extra that you didn't have before?
No, but I brought back the knowledge that my life really needed to change, and I needed to change it now. So at that time, I was working 4 jobs. I was going to school. I was sleeping 1 hour a day. It was not, I was 19. You went and partied after work, and you hung out, and I didn't have any like issues with any substances or anything like that, but I knew that it was dulling who I was, and it wasn't helping me be who I was, and I didn't really like who I was. But again, I really wanted to fit in with the normal people. Like, I used to wish upon a star to be normal and to just, be like everybody else, because I knew I wasn't like everybody else. As a kid, people would be doing stuff, and I'm like, dude, yeah, I would think twice about that. But then I would catch myself, because I would have this wisdom, but if I let that wisdom out, I was Captain No Fun, right? Because I could see things happening, and I would know the outcome, because I get premonition dreams and I get premonition information. And so I would on purpose ignore it and then pretend to be, a teenager, just, going along with it. I would always make sure I was safe and everybody was safe. Like, I would never, if I could change something, I would, enough that everybody would be safe, but I still did stupid things just to do the stupid things, because everybody else was doing it, and I didn't want anybody to know that I knew that this wasn't a great idea, and or I knew more, and so I had to really hide it. So, and I came back, and I knew that I needed and had to change my life. Like, it wasn't maybe it was, and I did. I actually like quit my job when I got out of the ICU. I just kind of remembered this woman I met when I was 16, a medium who chased me down the Safeway. And I remember she told me to stay with horses.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to find my way back. I started riding again, and which of course snowballed everything else in my life. And but that was a couple years down the road, and I got a new job where I was working with a different kind of company, doing being like marketing and things like that. And I thought that was great, but that wasn't where I was supposed to be. So that only lasted so long. And then I thought, well, screw you, universe. And that's blueprint that I made. I'm going to go into business. So I went in and became like a sales trainer, and, went through all the salesperson to manager and did all of that, and got to the point where I got all the promotions I wanted. And I realized that again, I was done. This wasn't what I was,
Mm-hmm.
so I quit that job as soon as it became like the job I was trying to create. Cause why not leap off another cliff? And that I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. Of course, I had 3 weeks off, and I was like, I need a job. And I ended up when I was in sales as a sales manager. When I went back to horseback riding, one of my younger horses that I had bred and raised, we were in a dressage lesson, and she came up 3-legged lame, so she couldn't walk. Like, she was sound lame. And so my dad actually had to go and get my truck and trailer and pull it in and he was pulling it into the indoor arena. And I started to do some energy work. Now, again, nobody knew anything about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't have told you what I was doing. I was just doing it. There was no rules. And so my instructor saw me, and my instructor had known me since I was like 4 years old. And she yells out, I knew this. I knew you could do this. I was like, no, I don't know what you saw. Well, she told everybody.
Of course she did.
Love her. At the time, I wanted to beat her. And I get a phone call from this woman that I have no idea who she is, and she's in the equine world. And she wants me to come talk to her animal. Excuse me? And somehow my mouth said yes when my brain was yelling no. I agreed to this. Now, at that time, I had denied it for so long. I was like, what am I doing? Like, you're a fraud. Like, you can't do this. You can't control this. You don't even know how to control this. So, of course, I'm agreed to this. And now I've given this woman my word that I'm going to show up. Well, like I said, my word, I'm pretty much going to stick to it no matter the cost of, like, I'm very careful what I say I'll do, because I'm not do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do it. Like, I came back for them because of that word. So, and there we are. A couple weeks later, I have this dream about this horse. It comes to me the night before I'm supposed to go and meet this woman. And the sesame, like, which is equal to our pinky, I wake up and I feel like somebody's broken my pinky. And as I'm like in excruciating pain, this horse's face comes at me. I don't know this horse. I've never seen this horse in my life. I'm like, broken? Got it. I don't know how I'm going to meet you, but sure. Show up at this woman's barn, breathing into a paper bag. And of course, she'd like, come into the house, have tea. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I'm legit. Right. Got it. Well, I can play this game. And her daughter walks in. Horse comes at me. Pinky. Now I'm starting to cry because it's so painful. I'm trying not to cry because I don't even cry in front of people. Here I am welling up. I'm like, you have a horse. It's bayed. It's got a start. It's broke this. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, I need to go talk to that horse. And so I march into this barn. I've never been there. Halfway down, I'm like, you stop it. And have this huge conversation. End up talking to like all their past relatives for them. People in the barn came in. I'm like, oh, your dad, just, it was one of those 8-hour days that I remember, but I got home and just went, I don't know what happened. But the woman that I met, her and I have been like best friends ever since. And, you see somebody and you're like, we're going to be friends for life. Like, it just knew at the moment I saw her, but yeah, here we are. And that is the snowball effect to where we are today.
Wow.
So yeah, it changed my entire life. that's crossing over and me agreeing to do what I came to do, even though they won't give me any more information about what I was supposed to do. Like, keep it vague over there, why don't you? Well, yeah.
Jen, I have a question about that. And many NDErs say very similar things. You have this NDE. You're like, no, I'm not coming back. I don't want to come back. You get told basically, but you have so many things to do and you can help people and this and that, right? Do you think that NDEs for some are a reminder to some that, hey, you need to get back on your on track? Do you understand what I mean by that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think,
sometimes I think sometimes people aren't doing
hmm
what they were supposed to be doing, maybe. And
I
maybe you
think
wrote
they,
like something in a blueprint that said, okay, like if I am not doing this, then I need to have this experience so that I change the trajectory kind of to go this way. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, actually, I think all near-death experiences are not only a reminder, but an activation of the things that you might be struggling with. Like, you go to the other side, you're in this space of euphoria, but you're also in this space of high density vibration and frequency that can then is reactivated in your cell memory. And you then download that as you come back. So when you re-enter the body, you actually make shifts at a cellular level inside your body that allows you to access those, whether they're codes or information or wisdom or insight or understanding or gifts, abilities. You now are attuned and reprogrammed to that, and you become an
Mm-hmm.
active source and participant in it because you've agreed. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, because you say, oh yeah, I'll come back. They're like, haha, now we can really amplify up your experience. And what was going really maybe slowly is now 100 times, 1,000 times faster, because
Yeah.
you recognize that frequency, you subconsciously attune and realign to it in a way that happens when we are, we go through, when we're born, our soul integrates for the most part. There are the, like, people whose soul has kind of not attached because of what's going on at birth. But my belief is that as we are born with our soul's energy, and then we kind of realign with earth and our family and our experiences and get reshaped. But for the
Mm-hmm.
from 0 to 8, we're really sitting in our soul's frequency a lot more. And then things kind of twist and turn as we develop who we are based on our perception of what we feel the world says about us and what we say about the world based on the experiences we both have and observe. So when we go back and have these near-death experiences, it's like being reborn in a way, because you're in that same
Mm-hmm.
vibration that you were before you became this baby. You're now basically going through the birth again, but you're coming out as somebody who's older, somebody who remembers the process of being slammed back in or stepping back in, depending on how
Mm-hmm.
defiant you want to be on the other side. So
A lot
yeah,
of
I think it
people
is.
don't, a lot of people come back with gifts. Um,
Mm-hmm,
However, I do believe everybody has the gifts, but
absolutely.
sometimes they're just kind of, I don't know where they go for some. Like for me, they didn't go anywhere. For you, they didn't either. Um, but for some people, they just forget. Maybe it's conditioning, maybe it's family. I'm not really sure.
It's a
But
lot of
when they do,
things.
yeah, when they have a near-death experience, they end up coming back and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm like hearing voices. I can speak to my plants. I can, they literally are just really in awe of what would you say to someone that may have had near-death experience and was experiencing something like that?
You're in a process of remembering. You're remembering who you truly are, your authentic self that was always meant to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to be terrified. It's okay to be scared, and it's okay not to understand. And it's okay to ask for help, because this process of waking up and remembering can be so overwhelming. I mean, it's very beautiful. And when you get to the other side, the light at the end of the tunnel, but sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
journey there is not always rainbows and sunshine. It is, you feel like you're going from these depths up and down, and you will constantly flux and flow. It's like a heartbeat, right? We're moving and we're grooving, and
I like that.
allowing your, well, you are. And allowing yourself time to adapt and adjust and whatever you need in that moment is so important, because when it becomes too much, you have the right to say, hey guys, I need a soft approach here, because this hard approach, this hard landing is, I don't know what to do with this. And you do have the power to go, I need this to tone down just enough. I'm not shutting it off, but I just need to know how to adjust this. And you will just find people that vibrate in that same essence as you, that you, if you give yourself permission to find them and them to find you, which will start to, have those conversations. I really feel now, in the time that we're living in, those conversations are quite easy to have, because more people are remembering and waking up, where back in the
Aren't
day,
they though?
people were like looking at you
Aren't
like,
they
you've
though?
got 6 heads now, like, oh my God. And so
Right? I
it
think that
is a
it
lot
went actually
safer.
beyond that. I think back in the
Mm.
day for women,
Oh,
I'm talking
yeah.
way back though. I think that a lot of women had these gifts. I'm just saying women. I'm sure there was men too, but a lot of women had this, and they were deemed as crazy. They
Oh,
were
yeah, I'm burnt on
deemed,
the stake more than
y-
once. So I remember my
right?
past lives. So I gotta tell you, me having my gifts, I can tell you all the past lives that interrupted me really wanting to go there.
Mm.
And I actually went to Salem with my 2 friends. We went on a birthday trip, and I walked into this metaphysical store. I'm like, I burnt here. There was a stake here, and I gotta go now because I'm getting hot. And the poor woman was
Oh
like,
my
how did you know the
God.
history? And I'm like, because I'm reliving it. I'm living it. I see it. It was me. Oh my God. And we did some research, and I was very right. And at that time I was, still blind, and just had gotten blind and was trying to figure out, but yeah, reliving
Oh
those
wow.
sometimes can be a little touch and go. But we weren't, there was a time when everything was accepted. And then there was a time where a cloud overcame what we intuitively and naturally and automatically actually have. I believe everybody is capable of this. Um, your strength and your ability will depend on your purpose and your blueprint and your mission with it. But I also believe there's a lot of pressure to do something with it and
Mm,
change the world. And I think that stops a lot of people from accessing that, because they want to, but then they have to go do these big things that necessarily don't actually have to do, because your gifts are, from when I was on the other side yelling at them,
mm-hmm.
I did get some information. And they were very clear. I got to choose what I did with this, with my abilities, that I didn't have to do anything but utilize them to make life
Mm-hmm.
better. Now,
Oh wow, that's cool.
I'm a go big or go home kind of person. Let's swing for a fence. And I'm like, oh, now that I'm going to do this, I'm going to save the world while I'm at it. Um, no big deal.
None at
And
all,
whether I do or I
right?
don't, who knows? But I'm like, well, if I'm going to go big, I mean, but
So
yeah, but I
funny.
don't believe you have to do that. I believe that, from what I've experienced on the other side more than once, is that we get to decide how we utilize them, because as we enrich our own lives and our own selves, we enrich all of the lives around us. And
Mm-hmm.
that helps other people learn that it's okay. It's okay to live your truth.
Right? It is okay to live your truth. Absolutely. 100% on board with that. I wanted to chat about your hypnotherapy. So I know you've done a lot. Like I'm like wondering, okay, which way shall I go? So I'd like to go into the hypnotherapy. Now,
Okay.
if you could talk about that. I don't know much about it. So please.
Okay. Well, hypnotherapy is the gateway into your soul's history. So it is tools, and everything I actually do blends into this, to be honest with you. Hypnotherapy, it was funny, when I was learning the process, I used to do guided meditations,
Mm-hmm.
just, off the ad lib groups and things like that. And when I had no idea what I was doing. And it is a very similar to meditation, except for its focus. So we imagine, every time you ever drive and you're like, oh my God, how did I get home? Or you're watching a TV show or reading a book and you lose hours, or you just like daydream and you go off into
Mm-hmm.
the space of the world. That is a form of hypnosis. It's a light stage, but our brain actually needs to go into these places of daydreaming and zoning out so that it can gather all the information that's important chuck it into the subconscious mind or chuck it and get rid of it. So we have access to our subconscious mind when we get into that relaxed space, somnambulism, which is kind of that wonderful theta space where you can communicate without your conscious mind getting in the way. Because in hypnosis, we teach you how to allow your subconscious mind to step aside, your conscious mind to step aside and the subconscious mind to step forward, so we can talk to it, communicate with it, and use it as a bridge between here and everywhere. And there's different aspects and tools such as parts therapy, which if you imagine yourself as a beautiful puzzle and you're 1,000 million pieces, and when we're in that relaxed state of hypnosis, i.e. it's just like meditation. So if you can meditate, you can do this. It's not hard. We can go in and ask your subconscious mind to pull out a particular piece. For me, the first thing I did was I wanted to talk to the part of me that was causing kidney failure. That was my very first regression. And this part steps forward, and you talk about yourself in a third person. It sounds really complicated, but it just naturally happens. And this individual piece of you knows why it's doing its job. So this part of me that was causing kidney failure, there was more than one, but the first one that stepped forward, it was doing it because I was a horrible person in a past life. And I was a very gifted, horrible person in a past life. And so it was protecting me and the world from me unlocking my gifts. And the kidneys are your life force energy. And so by dimming my kidneys, my life force energy was dimmed. So I couldn't have full access to it. And I was truly afraid of myself. And so that part in the session, I don't remember what it called itself. It was something really gnarly, and it named itself something dark, and it was not very loving. But it actually ended up taking me to a life where I wasn't even on Earth. And when I say I was horrible, I did horrible things because of an experience I had in that life where I was a very gifted healer, intuitive. Like I had the ability to bend energy, create with my thought. I could look at you and like help you unwind the essence of your soul in this world, because this world was very different than Earth. Similar but different. It was much lighter. Like you could see people's like auras, and you could see lines and DNA, and you could go in and tweak it to change things. And there was a council there, and that council didn't like that I could do what I could do. And that council came after me. Well, instead of like going in it with light and love, I went in with like the opposite. But the opposite was so extreme that I became the extreme, because in that world, whatever you focused on, you literally like there was no lag time like there is here. And I did horrible things. I ended up having a conscious moment and actually took myself out of that body and left that world when I realized how far I had really gone. And so the healing side of that soul regression, and doing soul screening to heal it, all the negative and all the things that attach to it. And when I came back, that part and I had a conversation, and it could recognize that that life had been healed, and its connection to that life now could change. So it changed its role with me, and actually became the part of me that felt safe being me. And so we then put that back in the puzzle piece, and it becomes a part of your whole, which then builds your neural pathways that lead into feeling safe being you. It rewrites your belief systems. Where I used to be terrified, now I actually felt okay being who I was and accessing my abilities to the fullest. And so I had a complete mindset change, but physical, mental, emotional, energetic. Like it was like, it is a full being change. You change that, you change your being. And you change the way you see yourself and the world around you. And that's what hypnotherapy helps you do. But you are the dictator. You write your story, and you get to rewrite those pages that you're stuck on. So if you're living, a lot of us live from our past. Like how many times has your narrative repeated your story of what happened once upon a time? Because there's an emotional impact there. I call it, it's ground zero. And we go to ground zero, and we help you rewrite your emotional imprints and impacts. So you go from disempowered and afraid to empowered and ready. And that changes and rewrites who you are now and who you are moving forward. And that's, at this point, I haven't figured out how to go back and physically change the past physically, but you can change it emotionally, mentally, and energetically, which then allows you to move your physical reality in a different direction. So
Wow,
that's,
that's amazing.
yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
then there's the emotional imprint. So the other side of this is we all have emotion. Never been like, I don't know why I'm angry all the time, but I'm angry all the time. Well, we can actually go back into that emotion and hop, skip, and jump back to the threat, using the thread of that emotion to the origins, the ground zero of when that emotion actually became a part of you, and a part that is influencing you, that you're living from, that you're holding on to, that's dictating how you see yourself in the world. And again, we rewrite that moment, whether it's this life, past life, outer space. I mean, I've seen a lot. And we're, in my practice, I've seen people go to other worlds, be other species. I have seen people go back to other lives of where they weren't human on Earth. They were something else. They were in the animal kingdom. So, accessing that soul history really allows you to close out reoccurring cycles, patterns, themes, habits, ideas.
Hmm.
It's really limitless. It just depends on how far you want to go and how much you want to connect to. And that's just the stuff that, it's holding us back. But here's the thing. I can take you back to a journey where you felt confident, or I can take you back
Hmm.
to a lifetime where you remembered having all your gifts and being like actually activated it to your fullest. And what you get to do is you get to go back and witness and observe that experience. And then you can bring that energy back with you. Like an NED, you can go and we can claim energy back so that when you come back into the here and now, your cell memory is reactivated and attuned to that. So there's a lot you can do with this. And I discovered this on my own healing journey because my journey was not linear. Like the techniques that I was taught got me so far. And then I had to really discover how to like bend and wind. And I would get these ideas, try this. And then people, at the school would be like, you did what? I'm like, no, try this. It's going to work. Trust me. And so I get to teach too, which is really fun. And, yeah, so it's an ever evolving thing. And it really is kind of interesting when you start tapping into what you remember as a soul. You really start to remember things you could never have imagined,
If I
but it's
was a
there.
person listening today that felt disconnected and lost, what do you think the first step it would be for finding their way back to themselves?
So,
Would
what I would say,
hypnotherapy be something that would work for
yeah,
them? Yeah.
yeah, because hypnotherapy encompasses, depending on who you work with. See, my mediumship abilities, my energy healing abilities, um, my ability to hear what you're thinking and hear your soul and your guides and everything really comes into play because I can hear what's happening and see what's happening in your journey. So I will ask a question and I already know what you're going to say because I can hear you through telepathy. But I also know what to ask because your soul says, ask this. Okay, let's ask that. And so hypnotherapy gives you the opportunity to find your soul again, to go home, but not because you're crossing over, but to go home because you can access and connect on a deeper level where there's no filter in the way. There's no, that can't happen. You're there. You're having a visceral experience. And hypnosis, it's the tool that will get you to where you need to connect with that part of you that feels disconnected.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
when you can connect with that part of you, you can start to have a conversation. You can learn about your how, where, when, and why. Well, then you get to decide whether you want to stay disconnected or if you want to actually put that piece back together. And you can go and access pieces of your soul that maybe be outside of you, but you can bring them
Hmm.
back in. So just,
I
yeah,
think a
that's where I would
common,
start.
exactly. That sounds like a perfect place to start. I know that there's a lot of misconceptions around hypnosis. People are like thinking, okay, they're going to put me on a stage. They're going to, make me act like a chicken,
Let,
because we've all seen
so,
that.
oh yeah, but here's the
Yeah.
thing, and often it's not talked about is the people on the stage would actually do that in their regular state. So there's no mind control. There's suggestibilities. But for someone like me, I lean into the ambivert side of things. I'm not an extrovert, but I'm not an introvert. I'm kind of in the middle. So
Mhm.
I would actually you could never get me to go on stage because I would never let my guard down because I have a core belief system that there's no way I'm going on that stage. I'm actually very easy to hypnotize, but if it came to that, I'd be sitting there like laughing at everybody, fully conscious. But the people that go on stage, they actually don't have them being on stage, humping the chair doesn't hit a core value. Soon as that, you know why people come off the stage is because there's a core value getting close to that, and somebody can't go in and change your core values. The only person that can activate your core values is you. So you're actually in
Mm.
control of the whole thing. You will only go as deep as you will choose to go. I can't force you. I can give you tools and I can show you a path, but there's
Mhm.
nothing I can do to make you do it. Thank goodness, because giving me someone
Yeah.
I can take over the world,
That
right?
would be quite a show.
But
That'd be
we don't.
embarrassing a little bit too,
Well, and
right?
it would be hard if you had that. Like I would never want that
No,
over
I
somebody. Um,
no.
Because then I take away your power. I take away your change. Like the change that you make is because you chose it. Has nothing to do with me choosing it for you. If anything, you're going to tell me what you need and we're going to make it happen.
Right. That's
So
exactly
you are
what I
actually
would expect.
you're the
Yeah.
power player in this the whole time. And I didn't know that going in. I wish somebody had told me that going into school that, hey, I learned it very quickly because I go in easily, but I also pop out really fast if something's going on. Like I learned how to split myself in two to be the client and the therapist because when I was learning, I was
Mhm.
blind. I couldn't read the material. Well, that also gave me the opportunity to do a lot of the work I did to heal. So, like I can be in hypnosis and be like, hey, you messed up. You missed a step. You got to go back and do that. But I already did it. So let's keep going, but never leave the past life that I'm in healing. So, that's how it like in control you can be.
Let's talk about your animal communicating. I'm this sounds I don't think I've quite heard anybody talk about this. So I would love to know animal communication and body work. How does this work?
Well, animal communication is something I was born with. And like I said earlier, I didn't know that you couldn't do it and you weren't doing it. Uh, so in 2007, after I had those couple like experiences where people were calling me and I'm like, I didn't know how at that time animal communication, any intuitive work at that time was like faux pas. And so I actually went
Mhm.
and took a massage course for equine massage because I figured I'd use the massage to broach the animal communication and the intuitive work that I do and kind of use that as my dig in.
Mhm.
And I did.
Mhm.
That's actually how I ended up, becoming known for this was because as I was working on I'm like, oh, by the way, your horse says this. And the people already in it for the massage. So they're like, oh my God, you're right. So I just kind of started having conversations and just kind of blurting. I don't have a filter. I blurt stuff out all the time. You could be walking by me, like, do you want to know this? And my animal communication clients, their friends will tell you, I'm like, by the way, your horse says this. But yeah, so I just decided that that was how I would bring it up to the world because, it was a faux pas at the time. And it took me a couple years and I just slowly kind of started to build that. But here's the thing. I never wanted to work with people. I did not like humanity. I'm sorry. I'll say it out loud. I say it all the time. I've been like an open book here. At that time, I was like, never working with people. You're all crazy. I don't understand you. Like, still had a bit of that, 19-year-old anger
Mm.
there. And then the animals were like, well, you got to fix my person. I don't want to fix your person. They're like, well, then you can't help me. And I was like, so I'd have these arguments with these animals about fixing and they're like, help my person. And I'm like, I don't want to. And then finally I started to have,
That's cool.
bottom line is the animals won. Now I do both. I help people and I help the animals and, information when it comes to animal communication. I 1,000% know that all of you can do this.
Mhm.
Just nobody's telling you how to do it. So if you are something you want to learn, it's very simple. Learn your intuitive abilities because once you know your intuitive abilities, you know how to communicate with animals because they all have a different voice, just like we do. Some communicate through feeling, knowing. Some yell at me, just like I'm talking. Sometimes I get images and pictures, and it's just a blend of everything. The animals kind of, when we were younger, you can only have one strong ability. And there was me was like, nah, you're all wrong. I got them all. And they're like, nope. When I got kicked out of groups and classes, because I was like, no. What do you mean I only get one? No, I have them all. Which one do you want to work with today is a better question. But it was because of the animals all had different ways of talking. So again, I was raised on a thoroughbred racing farm. Like I had all these horses and all these chickens and, we had cows and everything, cats, dogs. And so all of them talk differently. So I was just constantly having different kind of conversations. And so here we are, and that's how it works. And it's just, I love my skeptics because I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. They're like, how could you know that? I'm like, well, they just told me.
When I showed up to your house for my session, I couldn't believe this happened. So when you were living in Langley, I think at that time. So you were living on a farm at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I drove up and I couldn't believe it. At your gate, there was a rooster.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, really? Because I was attacked by a rooster when I was about 4 years old. And I thought that was very profound because
Mm-hmm.
I was coming for a session with you, and in front of your gate was the rooster that literally attacked me. And I was like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, this damn rooster. And I'll tell you, I was petrified to get out of my vehicle.
I
I
remember
was
you
I was
saying that.
shaking. Yes, I was shaking, and I felt like now when I actually look back on that and where I am in my life today, that was me facing a fear again, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
plopped in my lap. I was just like, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens all the time, and it happens when you're ready for it to happen. Now, like that, you're not the only person, by the way. At the time when I was working at the farm, a couple people with bird fears, the birds would show up and
Yeah.
be like, hi. And I'm like, stop it. Stop.
Oh,
Stop.
it's
And like,
freaky
I actually
sometimes.
had one client not get out. She's like, I'm not getting out of
Oh,
my car. I'm like, I'll come get you. It's okay. She's like, how'd you know? I didn't call. I'm like, it's fine. I'm, show up outside. I'm like, hey. She's like, I'm not getting in my car. I'm like, just 2 seconds. And I would, they would leave. But yeah.
I don't know what it was. For me, I was scared too. Scared really bad.
Yeah.
It brought back that memory so clearly. Wow. I think I got out though.
You
I
did.
don't
You did.
remember. Yeah, I think I got out and I came in. I don't think I actually called you to get. Did I call you to get
No,
me?
you didn't. You just
No.
told me about it. You're like, because
I
yeah,
did it. So I
I think
faced
it
the
walked
fear.
away. You
I think it
did.
did too, a little bit. Yeah. I was still
But
afraid though.
yeah, you'd be surprised actually how many people have come to my door and been like, oh God, I can't do this. Because that fear of opening up what's inside of them is so strong. So it's very interesting. I always laugh. I'm like, it's okay. When you're ready, you're ready. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be true for people.
I draw that out of people. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of one of the things I do is mirror. So it's a gift of mine. I didn't realize I ever did it. And someone's like, by the way, you do this too. I'm like, wow, cool. But not cool all the time because some people see me and they're like, oh God, no.
What
Because
is
they
it that
know
you
that
do?
I mirror. So
Oh,
when you come to see me or you want to work with me, your soul, you will feel the change that's coming. And you'll see it in my eyes that the things that you have to work on. And sometimes it can be very overwhelming for people.
okay.
Yeah.
Holy. You're really powerful.
Some
You are
days.
a powerful lady. And you also do Reiki energy healing. What is it that you don't do?
I don't know because I can pull I mean, I can talk to
Right?
those on the others. And the fun part is when you come for a session, all of it comes out in its own way. Like when I'm working, I use hypnosis because it is a great tool that shows you your journey. Telling you your journey is not the same as you experiencing it, but say the energy work, as we're doing those sessions, I'm actually doing energy work on you the whole time. I'm seeing in your aura everything that is in the way. So I know how many parts are there because they all show up in little orbs. And I'm like, oh yeah, we're not done yet. You still got more. And, and I know when it's cleared. I know when things have rewritten themselves because, everybody goes this beautiful hue of purple. And that's when I know you're ready to travel too, when you're no longer in your way. So everything happens at once. It's quite, I never realized until I'm talking about this right now. Like it's just is what it is. It is
It's amazing.
the is factor happens. And I can never tell you when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen. It's just going to happen.
How do you distinguish between your own mind and the voices of your spiritual guides?
Hmm. Well, I know the difference because I can hear them. And they have a very different tone. They're way nicer. Than, oh, I see. They're very polite. Well, one is not. One is kind of like a big brother, and him and I argue quite a bit, but I try to win as much as I possibly can. So yeah, I have a
Do
really
you
different
hear them
relationship.
such as in voices or?
I do. I do.
Oh, wow. How many
And I
do you
also feel
have?
them. That's a loaded question
Ooh,
because guides and teachers come and go as you come and go. And right now I've got
okay.
like 17 around me right now working with me. And sometimes I see them in lights. Like there's this purple one. He's over to the side. He hasn't quite come full circle. So there's somebody new stepping in, which hurry up, I can see you, but whatever. Sure, it's probably my own they like to make me be patient. I'm supposed to learn patience in this life. I have patience for everybody but my own journey. Hurry up and now is my attitude. And so he's taken forever to like step up. And I say he because he's got a very masculine energy to him. But I also feel them. So I'm quite empathic. So I'll feel that, and sometimes when I don't hear them, I feel them individually, and
Mhm.
and then I see them, like I see them. Yeah, so it just all depends on how they want to talk to me, and they all pick ways that I'm going to listen. So it depends on the day, really and truthfully. Depends on how
Do y- do you know like do they have their names? Like are they're named? Like
some are,
you know?
some are not, because I cannot say their name physically. It's some sound, some hum, and I'm like, well, what does that translate? Just pick a human name. And some of them refuse to. Some
Mm.
of them have not. They have given me their names. And it's funny because I'm like, couldn't you pick something better? There's a lot associated with that name. And so, but they always laugh at me and tell me stop. Like they shush me a lot. Because I have a lot to say. And so, yeah, no, I get some, and some I just know who they are.
Do
It's just all very
you
different.
do you think that everybody has these guides?
Absolutely. I think there's a team that
Yeah.
works with you. I think they can fluctuate. I think you have core guides that are with you from before, through, and after. But we have lots of teachers that come um, in and out because we are learning things at different times, and there are souls that are a little higher vibrationally attuned to certain things. So they step in and embark on that chapter of your journey with you. And then they may not stick around as much as we want them to, but they're always there to access if needed be. And I don't think you're actually limited. I think that if you want more help, just ask for it, and you'll be
How would one
surprised.
do that, Jen?
You just kind of go into your inner home base,
Mhm.
that in space, and you say, hey, I need some more help with this. Can you now, not tomorrow, now? And you will feel that essence, just the universe give to you, creation give to you. I believe, I think about the cosmos as creation, and there are souls there that are, you know, making sure that for your highest, greatest good, right? Put some boundaries on that, because you don't want to pick up any low vibes that are just kind of like, hey, piggyback, let's go. So be specific, be very black and white, make sure there's no gray, because the gray will get picked up on. And just ask for that help, and dictate what you need it for, and you'll be surprised how not only those on the other side will help you, but also how people on this side that are in this incarnation will step into your life, because
Mhm.
angels come, guides come in many forms. So, and some are there, like I said, for a lifetime, some are there for a season. You just have to ask, and just ask them to be very blunt with what You know, none of that. I hate it when I'm like, is it? Are you here? No, just be straight up and like black and white. I want to
Right?
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
me
hate
too.
guessing.
Yeah, I feel the
So
same. I'm curious what your thought is on aliens.
I've seen too many, and had too many clients incarnate to outside dimensions and worlds and spaces to not believe. I have known
Do
about
you think any of your
extraterrestrial.
guides are an alien?
Yes. Yes. Well,
Okay.
they're light beings. They're not really, I always get mad
Well,
when I call them aliens. And I laugh, so I call them aliens just for the fun of it. But, yes, they are. I've had some from different, like the Palladians and Andromedus era, and yeah, some other places, Sirius. And so, yeah, you know, sometimes they'll tell me where they're from or how I know them, but usually it's like, I end up in a regression where I'm like, oh, okay. So, or I have the
so
client
light
go somewhere.
beings,
I'm
we
like,
should say, instead of
that's what they
alien.
tell me. I mean, call
Mm-hmm.
them aliens just to bug them because you might as well poke the bear. Just
I love that. Can you share a healing session with us that has completely shifted your understanding of what's possible?
no, actually, I actually have a couple recorded that I'm going to be launching. So I have a friend who we actually began just seeing where her soul would take us as we were working, and we recorded them. And she ended up on a version of Earth where the light beings at that time were actually messing with human DNA. And she was in the High Council of the Anunnaki, and she was a part of the what we would consider the royal family. It's the best way of it. Trying to translate
Mm-hmm.
things isn't always easy. And her brother and her were on Earth, and she was a scientist in the I guess scientist is the best word to put that, in the Anunnaki. And humanity, this would have been Atlantis in that kind of period. And they were going to restart humanity because the one thing that they could never get out of humanity is aggression. But they were actually mining Earth for the gold and to save their planet, but didn't work. And so her brother was about to reset the Earth, and she ended up actually was one of the beings that ended up saving humanity so that we could continue on, because she didn't believe it was fair that we were being deconstructed per se. And so that's when
Hmm.
Atlantis went missing. And she ended up going back and unfortunately facing her council and losing her own life for her choices of trying to save humanity. And what that session did for me was, we've done a lot of research, and you know, there's a lot of and I didn't know it at the time because I kind of don't research things until it comes up, and then I go and see if it's actually legit, you know, if there's some kind of conspiracy, you know, is there a theory out there? And we found a lot of information that would actually corroborate what she said in this
Wow.
recording, and she hadn't done the research either. So it kind of made me wonder about how many times humanity has been reset, or, you know, how much
Mm.
influence light beings have had on the DNA of humanity, and why we have such a close relation to a lot of the guides, you know, the Andromedans, the Palladiums. A lot of people can connect
Mm-hmm.
with the Sirians, and how, you know, maybe at one point we're going to see a fashion of ourselves that maybe our DNA isn't just human. So now I've gone down that rabbit train of like, okay,
Yeah, I was
let's
gonna
figure
say,
out what we
uh-oh.
can do with DNA now. You know, and
Right?
in my own healing journey, I did play with my own DNA. Like, I was never supposed to get my eyesight back. That was like, I was supposed to be blind for the rest of my life. And I remember going into my DNA and not knowing what like, not consciously knowing what I was doing, but kind of like moving things around. And that was shortly after I came back and got my sight came forward again. So it was kind of one of those, oh my God, maybe this is more to this than I ever thought. Like, I just thought I was being a weirdo and just doing stuff that nobody knows about, you know, because when you're in that space, you know things, but you don't know things in a
Yeah.
way. Um, and so, yeah, so she kind of rocked my world a little. I was like, I need to spend some more time with how I healed myself on some of the things that I was doing in session that I wasn't talking about. I was just doing it while the person was trying to take me. So I'm like, one moment, please. And I would go do 1,000 things. because I knew I needed to do them, but I didn't know why. So yeah, that session definitely, and it actually for her self-sacrifice evolved. She no longer sits in that unworthiness, and it was a big block for her healing and intuitive abilities. So now they're unlocked, and it was really quite cool. So we're actually going to
Oh,
go
that's
back the
so good.
million years and record the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
As your
And
own
then,
journey continues to expand,
mhm.
what new directions and possibilities are calling you?
Well, the next stage for me is a friend of mine and I are starting healing with the herd. And so through equine assisted learning, the soul and spirit of the horses, the equine consciousness, and what I do, we are blending that all together to help people have these transformative moments. And horses are very mystical when it comes to their ability to hold space for you and with you, and to look you in the eye and say, I see you. And I see the depths of you, and I see what you're hiding. And they have this wonderful way of mirroring that back to you, but allowing it to come through in a compassionate, loving way so that you can recognize your shadow and you can sit with your shadow in a safe, loving environment where you can begin to recognize the pieces of you. And when I talk about the shadow in us, to me, they are the parts of you that have forgotten how to shine. And we are learning how to turn the light back on so that we can become more whole and complete. And horses, in my world, are why I'm still here. When I first lost my sight and was going through things, I had neuropathy from my shoulders down to my feet, which is basically like being stabbed with a hot poker 24/7.
Yeah.
And I made it my goal to get outside because I was in a very dark place. I didn't want to be here anymore. I was done with life. Like I
Oh,
was done. I was exhausted. I was in pain 24/7. I couldn't make it stop. I would pace at night because I couldn't sleep because I was in so much pain. And the horses were calling me, but I was blind. I didn't know how to get out there. And so walking into many walls, tripping, falling over things. I actually made it out to my barn one day and I climbed a fence and I sat there. This would make me cry.
mm,
um, and my baby horse, who wasn't broke, walked up. And I wasn't paying attention. All I could hear was get on. So this horse in a winter blanket, I crawled on him and I sat there.
what a beautiful thing.
I don't know for how long. And I cried. And I decided that day I was going to survive this. So taking that and wanting to share that with people and allow the horses, part of their purpose and their soul collective is to help humanity. They've helped humanity through the ages, and this is what my horses did for me, and this is what this herd wants to do for others. And I have personal experience on how it can be facilitated, and all of my training, all of my schooling, everything that I am blends it in. And same with my partner in this. And so here we are. I always knew I was going to be the somehow bridge humanity with the animals kingdom. This is how we're going to do it. And yeah, it was my horses that helped me realize that I didn't want to cross over, that I had more to live
Mhm.
for. And then I started meditating, and that was my first 3 months of this journey of losing my sight and being in this health crisis. It was very dark. It was not roses and sunshine. Um, and as strong as we think we are, we're not always, strength isn't what always gets us through it. It is
Yeah,
something else, something unworldly. And so, yeah, that's why
that's
this
right.
next step is that. And also working with people and helping you find that self connection. So it's taking me a long time to niche because I was like, oh, I'm not doing it. Again, I get to fight. So here we are. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for all of
So
this. And a book's next too. So
I am
here we
too
go.
for you. Oh, wow. Jen, I want to just touch on that back a bit. So is it somewhere someone can come to and experience healing with horses?
Yes. So
Oh, wow.
right now we're doing it in Langley. out of A&T Equestrian. We actually have an upcoming one-day retreat in September 30th, or September 28th, sorry. And then next spring, we're actually planning on moving this to the shoe shop and doing full week and 3-day retreats, which will build on themselves. And we've got a team of intuitives that are going to be joining us. So it won't just be Kat and I. There will be, there will be other modalities that are also going to complement the entire experience with the horses and with us. And there'll be group events, and then there'll be one-on-ones. So it's something when I do my own retreats, we do group sessions and then we do one-on-ones, because the group sessions help you prepare for the one-on-ones so that you can get in and get it, like get the work done. And yeah, so the plan will be in the Okanagan in BC, and where it goes from there, I do foresee it moving to other places in the world. And but that will unfold as we go.
That sounds
So,
absolutely beautiful. Jen,
really
I've got
exciting.
one more for you.
Okay.
So you have had many different spiritual connections. I mean, you've had everything pretty much. You're a medium. We didn't touch on barely any of it. We did the cold notes of everything. I'm definitely going to have you come back.
I'd
But
love to.
one thing I think of when I think of you, and the first question that pops in my mind is, do you think you planned all this for yourself? And if so, why?
I know I planned it. I know that everything up and down in my life was planned. I've seen the blueprint to a point where my soul prepared for me being me. To be honest, my soul has definitely outthought me, which just, probably why we argue a lot. And I get defiant because, nobody likes to be told what to do. But yes, I believe that we have a blueprint, but I believe it's fluid. From my experience with clients and their own blueprint at different stages of their life, and there's different chapters of their journey, some things in the blueprint can be very concrete. And then everything else is kind of flexible, because free will is a beautiful thing. Let's be honest. We all love it.
Right.
I'm pretty, and I know from my own soul yelling at me, sometimes it's like, could you give it a rest and just read the notes? Yes, my soul yells at me all the time. I ignore her. I have a button that says no, and I press it looking at her. And so it just depends on where you're at. Everything that I went through, there's a lot that I actually didn't discuss, was all kind of after I processed the other stuff that I went through as a child and throughout my teenage years and my young adult years. It was all preparing me for this. It was preparing me for what I was supposed to do. And I honestly not sure I've actually touched on my purpose quite yet. Like, I think that I'm getting there. I think it's starting, the ball is rolling down the hill now. We're just like, the steam is getting some steam. But I've had to go through everything so that when this next chapter happens, I have a lot to draw on. A lot to look at and know potentially what I need to do to hold space for you and with you, so that you can find your way through instead of somebody telling you how to get through it. I believe that we all are going to go our own way. We just need somebody to sit there and go, I can walk with you. And I can walk with you because I understand. I don't see it from your perspective, but I can understand it in a way that allows me to be a quiet guide. And
That's
that is going to
lovely.
be the next part of that journey. I think is going to be really interesting, because it's the healing with the herd is something Kat and I discussed 15 years ago. We actually drew it out and we forgot about it. And all of a sudden, without thinking about it, here it is. And
Right timing.
yeah. And my
Mhm.
soul's always had its own timing. Like,
Yeah.
I had one meeting like, at 35, things are going to change. I was like, no, I'm changing it now. Like, it was 35.
You were so stubborn, I bet, as a kid.
Oh,
I can only imagine.
Oh, I could tell you stories where if you threatened, like, told me I would cry if you broke my arm, I'd be like, go for it. And I'd look at you and I'd look you straight in the eyes and be like, there's going to be no tear coming out of this. And there wouldn't. They'd back out before I would. Put it that way. Don't play.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, girl. Oh, Jen, I wish that I had lots of more time. If you come back,
That's
then we
okay.
can actually
Yes.
spend time on one piece so
I
we
would
can
love
go through
that.
things. That would be lovely. I think
That would
that
be
though we gave a good indication of who you are, I also feel that you're going places, more
thanks. I
places,
hope
I should
so.
say.
Hope so.
I think you're going more places. But where and how can everyone get a hold of you?
So my company name is Blended Connections, and it's blendedconnections.com. Or I'm on Facebook. You can send me a message on Facebook, but there is a consult call, clarity call option. It's free, and let's have a discussion on what it is that you feel is in the way, and I can help. We come up with a game plan and how do you get through that and what that looks like on the other side. So that is the
And how
best
about
way.
bringing
Or
your animals? Can they
the
bring their
animals.
animals
Well,
to you?
I do in person, and I do remote sessions. So same with people.
Okay.
So if you're not local to where I am, then when you book a animal communication, I just need pictures 24, 48 hours before, because it always starts the conversation. Because by the time we get on the call, I got pages of notes for you, and we go from there. Or you can come in and see me in person, and we do stuff. Yeah. So I have an office in Langley, and I have an office in Vernon, BC. So yeah.
And I will have all that information in the description. But
Thank you for this.
oh, thank you for this. Jen, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us. Your journey is a reminder that healing is deeply personal and endlessly possible, and that guidance we seek often comes in unexpected ways. I'm grateful for the light you bring to both people and animals, and for the inspiration you've given us to trust our own path. And to the audience, remember today, the healing you're searching for isn't out there somewhere. It's already within you. Trust yourself enough to listen. And until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep returning to the truth within you.